Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan, I'm your host, and today, guys, we're going to be exposing the hidden costs in construction projects. Now, one of the things that I was never told coming up through the industry after working on, doing millions of square feet of educational space a year, which equated to hundreds of millions of dollars in projects, doing $100 million in healthcare projects a year, now doing, 500,000 million square foot industrial projects and manufacturing facilities. So all of these massively big projects, I never knew when I was working in firms really how we got down to our allotted hours for a project, right? Didn't necessarily know what our fees were, even though I was a department head, right? This was just not something that was common knowledge. This was not what was shared. And because of that lack of information, I was never able to make good decisions around personnel allocation. I was just trying to get jobs done, right? There was no ramifications around if I was over budget, quote unquote, or there was no guidance on how we can improve or any ROI calculations. So really, most firms put themselves at a huge disadvantage because they didn't give their teams the right tools, the right financial information to make good decisions. For the most part, most executives are outside of the day-to-day workflows. And with that, they don't have a good pulse on how much time something does or doesn't take. They don't have a good pulse on what ROIs should or shouldn't look like. And so with this, you want your team to be empowered to help make decisions. They know about what time something takes to do. They understand, what ROI would look like, but they got to have that financial information to make those good decisions. So what does this ultimately look like? This last week, I was at an industrial facility and walking through with one of our clients. And through this walkthrough and going and checking on the project, seeing how things are going, talking to the electricians, it was kind of an eye-opening experience that I had with my client and then his team of guys that were there. So there was a special type of basically clamp that would go on a conduit rack to hold the conduit down. And while this might seem like a kind of inconsequential thing, they needed like thousands of these clamps, and there were two different kinds. So there was kind of the traditional clamp and this new clamp. The traditional one, let's just call it for easy math and figures here, $1, and the new one was $4. But was it 4 times more efficient? So over 1,000 pieces, you got $1,000 on one hand and $4,000 on the other. So you have a $3,000 delta. And really, to make this worth it, at $100 an hour, you needed 30 hours of improvement, right? And using these two different clamps. But he walked through that math with his team, right? Like, hey, here's the cost of this one. Here's the cost of that one. Here's how much time we need to save. Like, do you guys think that's reasonable, right? Do you think you could save 30, 40 hours across, all these clamps for the project? And they walked through it. They had a conversation around it, and they came to a conclusion on which one to use. That conversation, that transparency around what things cost, what they need, do they think it's reasonable or possible, right, was made because they had all the information available to them, right? Hey, what do you think this takes? Let's time it, let's put some stopwatches to it. But like, gut check, do you think this is going to be reasonable? Right? Should we order all 1,000 clamps that we need today? Or do we just get some batches and see what happens? So through this conversation, they were able to make a good decision as a team. Everybody had the right information so that they could move forward. And being transparent, being open to what things cost, what time savings are, what you value an hour at, right? $100 in this case. And then the team can make a easy decision, or at least have the right information to make a good decision so that they can all move forward. And I think for the most part, firms aren't transparent with that type of information, right? What an hour costs, what they should expect out of it, how long things should or should not take. Even with my team and getting through a project, right? We have, hey, this is kind of what we assume this should take. And then, hey, if you're plus minus, 10%, right? That's perfect, right? You're in the ballpark. If you're dramatically over what we expected it to take, then it's like, hey, what are we missing? What are you not understanding? What tools or training do we need to provide to you so that you can move through these projects faster and better, right? At the end of the day, time taken on a project is very indicative of their skill set. Now, sometimes you just totally under or overestimate how much time something should take. But if you have a pretty good pulse on it, and then the person that you delegate those tasks to, again, takes either dramatically more or dramatically less, you then can evaluate where they are relative, right? If they take dramatically less, did they miss a bunch of stuff on the project? Were you just overestimating the time that this task should take? Or, you just were very profitable on the project, right? Or on the other side of it, if it took way longer to do something, right? Did you overestimate what it took? Did they misunderstand the scope? Or are they just not proficient in the tools to do the job, right? It just took them longer to do it because there's a training kind of time built into this and them understanding, what it's actually going to take to do. So all these go into this really transparency around construction projects. A lot of the time, these numbers, these dollar values, these costs aren't shared with the entire team, and that just creates it creates so many problems. It's not that it creates. Sometimes it could create like animosity and not understanding the metrics, how they're measured, what the team needs to do to meet these. In design firms, typically we just get a bucket of hours and say, go forth and do less than this, right? And that's not a great way to operate because you're like, well, I have no control on this and I'm neither punished nor rewarded around this because I'm a salaried employee. And so there's no real downside for the firm and working more hours, right? I'm going to get paid the same. This might show up on paper worse, for the project, but they're not actually making less money because I'm a salaried employee, right? Like I just get paid less per hour for every hour that I work over my 40. So the math, the incentives, not everything is aligned in design firms for the most part. So we have to be aligned on our incentives, aligned on what it takes, right? Because if you go the other way, it's say, hey, if you go over this and now I'm paying you whatever time and a half, right, for overtime if you're an hourly employee, well, then you're just incentivizing additional work hours, right? Not being more efficient on the project. So you got to align incentives, right? Is there time taken, less if you took less hours to do it? Do you get paid more for that? But then, is the quality of work where it needs to be so that, hey, now we have right change orders, we have money that we have to pay out because the project wasn't designed properly. Well, now, the time saved in doing the project, you lose it on the other side with the quality of work on the project. And then are they there long enough to see either side of that, right? Are they staying with the firm long enough to, hey, yeah, you took less hours, we're going to pay, some additional bonus, but on the other side of it, you screwed it up so bad that we lost, all of our money on the project, right? Like all those things matter in how long a person stays, what their incentives are you aligned on incentives, and how this works is the culture of your firm such that it, really rewards doing great work and punishes bad work. What is the culture of the firm that you work in? And all of these are questions and items that you have to work through as a firm, as a team. But first and foremost, and what I can say for everybody is be more transparent around like what the fee is, how you came to that fee, what your bucketed hours are for this project, what you've allotted for it, the time you've put towards it. And that helps people make better decisions. Now, is this perfect? No. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a more transparent culture, people trust you more, and that trust goes a long way into building a good firm, reliable firm, and a place that people ultimately want to work. A lot of this is all these soft skills, right? This is a neither black nor white thing, other than, be more transparent around your numbers, around your projects, and how the whole team can move forward better together. This is a big deal, and I don't see enough firms getting it right or doing well enough. And then especially not hiring enough people to backfill the amount of work that they have. So with all this, guys, share your numbers, share these hidden costs, be more transparent with everybody in the firm. It's going to allow you to get better results and achieve more with your team. Builds trust, builds character, and it'll make your firm a better place to be. So that's this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.